Hi, today you are going to witness a very epic event. I'm going to take this 1989 Lotus Esprit Turbo body off the chassis. Honestly, this is a very, very rare event. Did you say you were going to do this all by yourself? What? Wait, who are you? I'm from another dimension. I thought I'd come by to help you along. Another dimension? I really don't think that's possible. Or perhaps you're just resorting to cheesy special effects to try and boost your YouTube views. I don't think you can do it. Do what? Aren't you paying attention to what you're telling these people? I don't think you're going to be able to do it all by yourself, taking the body off this chassis. I don't understand how you can even say that. You're me. Well, obviously then you have a confidence problem. What? No, I'm totally capable. I bet $100 you can't do it. So you're asking me to bet against myself now? You are so negative. Think about it as betting on yourself. No, I don't think it... What are you doing now? I want to get a good seat for when it starts. When does it start? Now. Welcome, and thanks for slipping some time with me today. This episode's going to be pretty special because today we're going to take off the body on this 1989 Lotus Esprit. And I made a special jig that I'll talk about and how I did it, that it's actually going to use this 4-post lift to lift it off. Take it over here. That's a little thing I built just to set the body on after. But before we do that, I'm going to actually take the rest of the interior off. Well, not really the rest. I'm just going to take the dash off and then we'll get to the body after that. Okay, let's go. Just taking a closer look at this interior here, and it's okay, but I think I can do better with it. I'm going to actually try to remove it. I did see a really good write-up on a Lotus forum on actually how to do it, so I'm going to follow that a bit. I don't think it'll be too bad. Famous last words possibly, but I'm going to give it a tackle. Let me show you some of the things about it right now. As you can see, it's dirty, but that's not the biggest deal, and a lot of it's kind of apart already. I pulled that guy out just now to see what I'm up against. This is going to need replaced, but you can still buy these little face plates here. See, it's all cracked up. And looking at things closer, it's not horrible, but there definitely is some, like that's actually a little bit of a worn piece and stuff, and I want to clean this up and do it right. So it just makes sense to me to remove it. Plus the wiring is a real mess on this car. I think I showed you there's this alarm system, which is also kind of integrated somehow into that radar detector system, and I want to get rid of that. I don't even have the key fob for this anyway, so it doesn't make sense to even try to salvage this. Just the least headaches to start with, the better. And we'll remove that and all the wiring. There is some funky stuff going on with a lot of the wiring that I definitely got to figure out. So bear with me and we'll just see how well this comes apart and how easy it is. Well, it's off, everyone. I have to say, I was expecting this to be exciting. I was not expecting it to be as exhilarating as it was to take this body off. When I seen it rising, that was something, and then when it finally came off and revealed this, it felt like I was unveiling art. This is just totally amazing to me. It's nothing like any other car I've seen. I know there's a few other that have this type of format out there, but honestly, this is pretty cool. Seeing right here, it says FAD Turbo, and it's got the, I think this is a serial number on here. Someone told me there was a plate here, but I think this is it. But anyway, I'm going to go around the chassis and talk a little bit more of that in the next episode. I just want to reframe a little bit here of how crazy this is to me. It's just an emotional time. This is crazy. Glad you were able to share this with me. It's an amazing story. I have to say too, I was really happy my dad was able to join me and take this off. We both had a really good time doing it. We made that jig. I'll talk about the jig in a second. But when we made that jig and trying to work out how this is all going to work, and it worked well, we definitely took our time, as you could tell. But man, that was something, the way it all worked together. Dad just turned 80 actually last week, and being able to do something like that with him when he just turned 80 as father-son, it was pretty cool, and I think he was pretty excited about it too when it all happened. Again, we've never done anything like this, either one of us, so yeah, it was really nice time. Now, to talk about that jig. So that jig, what it's made out of is of interest too. So most of you know the price of steel has gone crazy. So I priced out some steel, basically some square tubing to put on around to make that jig, and it was going to cost a few $100 in steel. It was substantial to make it, and I wasn't really thinking I wanted to invest that much. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I had the thought, you know what people sell cheap? Steel bed frames. So I looked at the used ads. You can get them for anywhere from $5 to $40. Normally the normal price, I think the average price is $20 out there. So I got 2 queen size bed frames, basically steel, cheap steel. And yeah, it worked, and it worked well, as you can tell. We had them bow a little bit. So what we did is, because they're angle iron, we actually took 2 pieces of angle iron and made some square tubing out of it, as you can probably see. So that's why it looks like square tubing, even though it was actually angle iron from the bed frames. So that's a little secret there, what you can do. So if you want some cheap iron for doing some little jigs and stuff like that, just look at the used ads for some bed frames. It works, and it's 10 times cheaper. It's more than that, probably 15 times cheaper than getting steel that you'd have to buy, and people sometimes will even give them away, or you can go to garage sales or whatever. So I'd recommend that. It worked well. Again, we had them bow out a little bit initially, but overall everything went okay, and we might reinforce them when we want to put the body down, but we know it worked. In fact, it did hang up on a few things that it was lifting the whole thing and not just the body, and that's probably why it bowed a lot. So the things that it did hit that we had a little trouble with, these guys here, they actually rub on the body up there. And what I did on this is I actually lifted the back up about 1.5 inches first, so it was higher by 1.5 inches, just to give it a little bit of a tilt. And that was to try and help get by these wishbone bolts that kind of tuck in right there. And that did help. I still had to pry it a little bit to spring it back, and that helped. Another thing I got hung up on, even though it was loose, because it's on an angle, the steering knuckle actually did stop it from going up, because the angle just kind of made it rise. So I had to get that unhung. So that went okay after I did that. And then another thing that happened is there's a through bolt here on the alternator. It has a nut. I had to take that off, as well as just pry a little bit, because this nut right where the pulley is for the alternator was actually hitting as well up there. So after these cleared up, they were really on our way up all the way. The only thing I had to make sure of was to watch out for the clutch line here and the brake lines to go through from the body holes up there. And we just watched that, and away they went, and we were good. Other than that, it honestly went great. We took our time. It took about 2 hours in total probably to do it all, but time well spent. It was a bonding moment, obviously, with us. Yeah, it's off. A lot of work left to do. Like I said, I'm going to take you through a lot of other things, but right now it's just off, and that's the way I think we're going to finish this episode. I think it's a heck of a way to finish this episode, to be honest. Something I would like to share too is that for my last video, a fellow by the name of Jonathan Edwards commented and said, and he had a hunch, and he was right, by the way. He was wondering if I remembered this clip right here. And it's attached to the body. It's off the water pump for the heater hose. I, in fact, checked, and I missed it. So that probably would have ripped off. Wouldn't have been the end of the world, possibly. It might have pulled the hose off, I don't know. But in any case, I'm glad that he mentioned that. So again, thank you so much for the support out there. That just helped me immensely. I think with raising it, because that screw is so small, I probably never would have noticed it, and I would have ripped it off. So that really saved me. So thank you, Jonathan, for that. Shout out to you for sure for that. Thanks a lot. Honestly, it's another testament of how great this Lotus community is, and I'm finding out. And I'm sure I'm going to have questions, and there's going to be comments and things you notice, and I welcome them. Thanks again for joining me on Slipping Time. There's going to be a lot more on this and other cars and other garage stuff coming up. This is just the beginning. Now that I got this off, I can reveal some of the plans I have from the plans I haven't figured out yet, so I'll go through that. Like I said, make sure you don't miss that by subscribing. Like and share as well, please. Oh, there you are. So where's my $100? How about an IOU? Okay. Make sure you enjoy every day and always make it right.